Hi everyone, this is Aaron, and today we're reviewing the Motorola Citrus. The Motorola Citrus is a budget smartphone from Verizon. Generally it's about free on contract, so you can't get much better than that as far as cost goes. As you can see, it's a small screen and a small phone compared to well, just about any other Android phone, and I'll show you that later on. But let's first talk about some of the specs and the actual design. It's a little candy bar style. It actually reminds me a lot of the Palm Pre, the way it, size-wise, and the way it feels in your hand, which is quite nice. But it is a little small, like I said, especially for me. For I guess someone with average size hands would be fine. On the top you have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and while we're talking about that, I'll wake it up with the sleep wake button, or actually turn it on. On the bottom front here we have our menu, home, back, and search button, and those are all touch buttons. And then we have a couple other options here, which we'll go into after. On the side we have a mini USB, or I'm sorry, micro USB port. On the back we have a camera, we have our speaker, and on this side we have a camera button. The camera is actually what you'd expect in a budget camera. It's 3 megapixel, does support geotagging and a couple settings like white balance, and does do video capture, but it's nothing such as an HD camera would capture. The processor is a little bit slow. It is 528 megahertz, which is really slow for a smartphone running Android, but actually not terrible looking back a generation. Now it does run Android 2.1. There you go. And it does have a 240 by 320 capacitive touchscreen that's 3 inches across. Overall, it's a pretty light phone. It does a decent job as far as a budget phone goes, and I think the most important thing, at least with this model or someone that's looking for something eco-friendly, is this phone is made entirely from recycled materials, and that's why they call it the Citrus. So let's go ahead and unlock it here. And what we have is Motorola's Moto Blur interface. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. There we go. So we have the Moto Blur interface, and we have Bing, and we're seeing this more and more on these Android smartphones, which is really kind of weird, but for whatever reason we're seeing that. Let's go ahead and scroll. And the touchscreen's pretty responsive. It is a capacitive touchscreen. Slides back and forth nicely, and you can see all the way to the left. If you've ever used Moto Blur, you'll see some things that look familiar, like the orange and blue squares. We have our quick options with Bluetooth. I don't know what that was about. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, airport mode, GPS, and I think location services. Let's go back home. We'll hit the app drawer here, and it open, and we'll scroll. You can see it's, I'm not trying to say that it's a bad phone, but it is very slow, slower than I would expect. You can see, there we go, it kind of is taking a moment to pick up. And I think this is this phone's main downfall, is the speed is just not up to par. I guess with a free phone it's not so bad, and compared to some others, but it just doesn't feel like what you would expect. So let's go back to home. And it does have haptic feedback. I don't think I mentioned that. So if we hit these buttons, these are our phone buttons. This is pick up and hang up, and these are actually rubber buttons, and they're pushed out. And obviously, being that this is a budget smartphone, it's going to be aimed at that market, and that's why you have these buttons, because the people that buy this probably are going to be the people that want a phone with a couple features, maybe a little bit more advanced feature phone. Go ahead and hang up. And oh, it doesn't work unless you're making a call, but see, the dialer is responsive. It does a good job. You've got your recents, contacts, favorites. We'll go back to home. And it does a great job as a phone, but not as an overall smartphone. Let's go ahead and show you the browser here. And wait for that to boot up here. Okay, so we'll go to Zollotech. And this keyboard is pretty tiny. The screen looks fairly low res, and let me see if I can bring that in so you can see the pixels a little better. You can see it's kind of grainy. In fact, I've shown some other people this phone, and they said the exact same thing right away. This looks really grainy, but You can see it's still loading via 3G. I've got 2 bars. It's loading my website, zollotech.com. There we go. Still going. Okay. So the scroll's not too bad. It's a little bit choppy. Let's go ahead and pinch to zoom. And it does work, but again, it's on the lines of, say, the LG Vortex as far as that part goes. It feels a little choppy. It's definitely usable, but the type right now is so blurry I can't read it. So you would have to zoom in to read the type on here. Let me show you that. It's kind of hard to read because you can actually see the pixels in this camera. I mean, up close, I have to bring it up pretty close to see it. It just doesn't look up to snuff, and that's due to its lower resolution. But again, if you're looking for something that's green, you might want to check this out. The battery life you'll get out of it is also pretty good, just because it's not a higher powered phone. It does have an 1150 milliamp hour battery that should get you through the day if you use this as a normal phone. I would think a lot of media rich things are going to suck the battery up pretty quickly, but given that it's driving a smaller resolution display and it's not super bright, I think you'll get a decent life out of it. At least I found I got a day out of it without any problem whatsoever. So kind of what you expect nowadays with Android. Not fantastic battery life, but not bad at all. So that's pretty much it for the Citrus. Please feel free to, again, comment, subscribe. I appreciate that. And if you have any questions that I haven't answered, I'd certainly like to hear from you. And let me know your thoughts as well. And if you've checked it out and you think otherwise, I'd like to hear that too. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.